Yes, hello, it's Spooky Lake Month where we're doing 31 days of haunted hydrology, and today I want to talk about this mysterious moving mud puddle in the middle of the desert. Located in Southern California alongside the equally spooky Salton Sea is a bubbling pool of mud that scientists can't explain. It's one of 33 mud pots and mud volcanoes that can be found on the south shore of the Salton Sea. They exist here because of the Wister Fault, which is an extension of or an abandoned branch of the Big San Andreas Fault, which extends across much of California. However, no mud pots in the world have moved as much as this strange anomaly. It's earned the nickname the Nyland Geyser, even though it's not technically a geyser. It was first recorded in 1953, but it didn't start moving until 2016 when there was a series of earthquakes that might have jump-started it. Since then, it's moved some 20 feet per year despite all of our efforts to stop it. In 2018, it was half the size of a football field and moving at 10 feet per month straight towards the Union Pacific Railroad. Officials panicked, and the company built a 140-foot wide steel wall that was driven down into the earth the height of a 5-story building. They even tried to drill down to relieve some of the pressure, and this is when the Knot Geyser lived up to its geyser name with a 100-foot high blowout. However, nothing that they did worked, and the mud puddle kept moving. To save the railroad, they had to build these temporary bypass tracks called shoe flies so that 70 trains per day could creep past the mud puddle. Over the next few years, it swallowed up a bunch of railroad tracks, but then it started to head towards the local highway. The state of California had to spend some $21 million to divert the highway away from this hungry mud puddle. But I know for this entire time you've been wondering to yourself, what would happen if I fell into this frothing water? Surprisingly, it might be the last thing you ever do because you'll probably die here. The main crater is around 25 feet deep, but that active bubbling area is much more shallow. However, you wouldn't be able to stand because you'd be surrounded by actively bubbling and gurgling mud that acts more like quicksand. Luckily, it's not hot because it's not geothermal, but all of those bubbles would reduce your buoyancy, making it difficult to swim, even as you're being sucked down into the quicksand mud. However, the real killer is that as you're flailing around and panicking, you're actively breathing in carbon dioxide gas. So you'd probably suffocate before you ever made it back to shore. 4 out of 10 spookies.